A church is more than a building, obviously. It's people whose lives are being transformed by the gospel, and we're excited about what God's doing. We thought we would be planting a church that would have Panamanians in it, and we do, but God has brought many immigrants to Panama, and the large majority of the people in our church are actually Venezuelan refugees. And they come in crisis, and they come looking for stability and community, not necessarily God or a church, but that's what they find in the gospel. So we're excited and want to share one story with you about what God's done in someone's life. This is our friend's story. I met Jesus in 2007 through a friend. In 2009, my son was born, and in 2011, I traveled to Panama with the father of my son, with whom I already had a bad relationship. I wanted God to work in that relationship, but in 2012, we separated, which caused me to draw closer to Christ, and yet I wasn't sufficiently interested to truly walk with him, and I began to wander. I began to do all the things that do not please the Lord. During this time, I always felt the need of the Lord, but then I would feel guilty and embarrassed because I was not the pure woman that deserved the love of God. During this time, I was in many casual relationships, I used drugs, and I was a drunk. I wanted God, but my shame led me to do more things that displeased him, which in turn brought more shame. It was a bad spiral. I was depressed and lost my job. I entered into a toxic relationship and had an abortion. And in my emotional state, I didn't think of the consequences and took 16 pills. I could have died, but God did not permit it. Although I felt a need for God, I continued making poor choices, and in an effort to solve my economic situation, I turned to prostitution. One day, as I was walking down a main street, I said, "Fine, God, if you want me to go to church, it will have to be a church on this street." Villa Argentina is full of restaurants and bars, so I was certain there was no such church. But a few days later, I entered the park with my son, where we received an invitation to a Christian church and the last hot dog. And the church was meeting on Villa Argentina. God heard me, and it was in God's perfect timing. Little by little, God began to change my perspective. Last year, I attended a class to learn more about the church and become a member. After the weekend, I decided not to join because I wasn't sure I could make such a serious commitment. I decided to attend but not join. 1 week before the commemoration of the members, I was thinking of something the pastor said, that every person who is part of the church are sinners, and that the church is for sinners, and I began to cry. That night, I finally understood grace. I had been trying to fix my life in my own strength. Today, grace is shaping my life. God is changing my heart. His grace is bigger than we imagine and bigger than we deserve. For God's glory, I am a member of Iglesia Comunidad de Cristo, and my son was baptized. And I am a sinner, but God has control of my life.
And you can have the opportunity to change lives like this woman's life has changed with the gospel. And we're excited about partnering with you in the gospel going forward.